Blessed be our new founding fathers in America, a nation reborn. May God be with you all. Emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the Purge. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual Purge. Another day in America where the crime percentage is only at 1%, unless it's under one exception when they purge. This movie kicks off with all the camera footage of the purges that have taken place over the years in America, showing the horrific crimes and executions that take place on this superb day. New Year starts with a man named James driving, listening to the radio that crimes are expected to rise to an all-time high. The man, whilst driving, has a bouquet of blue flowers, representing his support of the annual Purge. Driving through the neighborhood, each house has also placed the blue flowers, also symbolizing their support of this night. James comes home with only 62 minutes left for the annual Purge to commence. Greeting his wife Mary, presenting her with the blue flowers as a gift, Mary then proceeds to prepare a nice meal so the family can bond before nightfall. Zoe, his daughter, and her friend Henry gaze from above as they see their neighbor sharpening his machete in preparation for this day. Grace, the neighbor, gifts Mary with some food as they get to talking. Mary asks Grace about her annual party, to which she says it will be off this year. They are then interrupted by a car being driven by her other neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Halverson, who wish them safety. Grace compliments on how James has the best security in the neighborhood and should be as comfy as one can be. As she is setting up, an object seems to be watching her. She turns in fright only to realize it's a baby doll installed with a camera in a remote-controlled car. She instantly knows this is her son Charlie, telling him enough with the games as he is seen hiding away in his little fort. Charlie then comes down explaining the doll and how he loves building electronic things. That night they dine together as a family, discussing about their days as James is interested in his kids' lives. The kids make stupid remarks causing everyone to laugh. This doesn't last long when they are seen staring at all the security cameras. James then proceeds to open a secret shelf showing us his guns as safety precautions. After entering a code which puts his house into full lockdown, this shows us the high security levels he has and the advanced technology he builds. The family all then turn on the TV as it explains the rules of the Purge, telling American citizens no crime is off limits for 12 hours. As the sounds of an alarm blares throughout the whole of America, Charlie questions his parents as to why they don't participate in these crimes. James tells him they have the privilege of living in a rich residency with good security. He is then seen working as the monitor in the background shows the Purge has already begun in full force. Mary, bored, decides to run on the treadmill whilst Charlie continues to drive the baby doll around the house. Sneaking it into his dad's office, he watches the monitor as he sees a man lying lifeless on the lawn, which scares him. Mary, after her workout, seems haunted by this night, glancing in the mirror hoping all goes well. Gunshots are then heard as James comforts Mary, telling her it's nothing. Charlie, still doing his thing, staring at security footage, sees a man running, causing him to sit upright and pay attention. Zoe, on the other hand, is seen with Henry, who wants to introduce himself to the family. Charlie, disregarding everything his father told him not to do, approaches the monitor. He hears the man calling for help as he listens in fear while no one helps him. Henry is then seen walking towards Zoe's parents, disregarding Zoe's fear of her dad. Charlie makes the decision of aiding this man by deactivating the security, telling him to run into their house. As his parents hear the commotion, they disarm the security system, but not in time, as they see a strange, bloodied man in their house. James's instincts are to eliminate him when Henry comes from behind and shoots, but is instead shot and dragged upstairs by Zoe. Mary immediately runs to check on James and Charlie. But James is not focused on what just took place and is worried cause the strange man has disappeared. Being the father and husband he is, he tells his son and wife to stay hidden, whilst he checks up on Zoe to find the stranger. As he goes upstairs, he checks on Henry's pulse only for the stranger to be in the shadows behind him. Mary, hearing her daughter's voice, opens the door, only to run into Zoe, who is in shock and runs away. With the chaos that has just taken place, we see a group of men and women approaching James's house, armed with multiple weapons. James is seen strapped, making his way downstairs to peep through a little hole to see outside. Frightened, he informs Mary of the situation but stops as she takes him to the monitors. We then witness the group that had made their way towards his house now at his doorstep as the family stares in horror. A masked man then unmasks himself and explains they know who he is and has no issue with him or his family, but demands the stranger who entered their house to be handed over, as it is their right to purge. This leader of the group gives him a short period of time to hand over the man, or else they will suffer the consequences, to which the power goes out. Mary then starts to question her husband's security as to whether they could get in, but he reassures her that he will find this man and no harm will come their way. With the power out, James is seen with a gun and flashlight making his way to meet the unmasked man's demands. Mary, on the other hand, does the same thing and looks for the stranger. Charlie then stares in horror at the purgers outside, who are all masked and armed, which terrifies him at the thought of his dad not correcting his wrongs. Charlie drives his doll once more, only to find the stranger hiding, and flashes his lights at him, sending him a kind of code as to where to go. The strange man is confused and wonders why Charlie is helping him, before deciding to trust his instincts and continues to follow the doll, trying to figure out where this doll is leading him, and finally enters the fort Charlie uses to hide in. Mary, strapped, makes her way upstairs, still looking for this man, whilst Charlie is protecting him. But to their surprise, Mary enters the room, closing in on the fort, still holding her gun, getting closer, but a noise distracts her as she turns away. James, who still is doing his due diligence, gets a call from the unmasked man to come interact with him, and as they discuss the situation, one of his friends gets loud demanding the man before being executed by the unmasked man, showing he means business. He then explains that the man who he killed was his best friend, so imagine what he will do if his demands are not met, and gives James limited time to send out this stranger or they'll be forced to enter. And everyone gets harmed, including the Sandins family, as he smirks evilly. Charlie stares at the monitor once more, realizing the armed group aren't giving up. Zoe then pops up in front of the doll and pleads with her brother to stay safe and that she's going to hide in the fort also. But with the time coming to an end, James turns the corner, only to find the stranger holding his daughter at gunpoint, threatening James. The father, demanding he let his daughter be, screams at the stranger, informing him this is all his fault and he won't let his family die to protect him. The stranger says he doesn't want to die at the hands of those killers outside, but Mary comes from behind, aiming straight at him as James instructs her to shoot. He pushes Zoe as they get into a scuffle, causing a round to go off. This battle is quickly ended as James seems to have gotten the better of him. The man is then tied up by Mary and James, who attempt to hand him over to the killers, but he puts up a fight for his life, causing Mary to stab him where the round was unloaded, making him comply out of excruciating pain. Mary then questions their ethics, but her husband does not seem fazed. The stranger and his wife make eye contact, causing her to feel very wrong about what's happening. Amidst this arguing, Charlie runs away, causing his mother to follow. The man witnesses the chaos he has caused the family, finally giving in and asking James to save his family and end this already. As time has run out, Mary sees the armed group forcing their entry, preparing to come in. James arms his family and tells them they're going to fight and that his wife was right. The unmasked man screams in anger as both parents stare, telling his armed group to break into the house and find any entry they can and to eliminate everyone in the house. He explains his disappointment in getting in the way of their purge as his friends rip the hinges of the door, causing the couple to run. They split up, and as one purger shoots his way through the door, we see the stranger trying to free himself. As Mary is crouched ready with her 2 guns, one of the women walks with 2 machetes through the house. The unmasked man and his friends are finally in the Sandins' house. Charlie, who hides unexpectedly, is found and tries to defend himself, but his dad comes to his aid, killing the masked man. Zoe, who is hiding underneath her bed, quivering, as a man stands directly in front of her, is called to the other commotion and she is relieved. Unbeknownst to Mary, as she walks throughout her house, a masked man stalks his prey from behind. James, who silently makes his way around, kills another masked man as he is determined to protect his family. Once more, we see 2 masked people on each other's back and are met by a determined James, who fires at the 2, which misses and causes a wrestle, but just when his luck almost runs, he gets his hand on a snooker ball, knocking one out as the next tries to swing her axe but is shot dead. He is attacked once more and smashes his face through a glass frame while the glass door from behind breaks and another purger rushes him. The 2 get into a fight, but James is quick enough to put an axe through his attacker's back. The man of the house, being so angry, picks up his shotgun and fires at the dead purgers, making sure they stay dead. He stares in shock at the scene of what has just happened when he is stabbed by the unmasked man, who stares directly into his eyes, telling him this is the consequences. As the masked men terrorize the house, Charlie notices his neighbor Grace killing masked men outside with her husband. Mary, still lurking, gets a jump scare as she is attacked by 2 more masked purgers who prepare to end her life, but is saved by her other neighbors, Mr. and Mrs. Halverson, and is surprised when she looks up and doesn't see them, which shocks her as she doesn't know who saved her. Mary, still filled by adrenaline, gets up only to see her husband, who has been stabbed, and rushes to help him, and so does Charlie. But the unmasked man appears once more, loading his shotgun, preparing to end the family lineage. To everyone's surprise, Zoe appears from nowhere and fires her whole magazine into him, ending his life as she also rushes to be with her dying father. Grace appears with her husband and her neighbors who had saved Mary, who now realizes they were her saviors, and as the family thanks them, thinking it's over, are met with a shock as the neighbors drag Frank's lifeless body, whilst Grace informs them they are there to purge and it is her night, causing panic amongst the family. As they wrestle and fight, it is no use as they are overpowered, which causes Mary to plead with them to let her children go. Grace, ignoring her, ties the family up in the same fashion they did the stranger and joins arms with the neighbors as they are about to kill the rest of the Sandins family. Suddenly, the doll drives by, giving the strange man the chance to come to their aid, and holds Grace at gunpoint, telling the rest to stand down. He forces them to let the family go and shoves Grace, allowing the Sandins family to unite with this stranger, holding the rest of the neighbors at gunpoint. Mary, sick of the violence, does not kill them, and instead chooses to spare their lives, making them sit and wait for the alarms to blare. Grace, still not satisfied with the outcome, reaches for the shotgun, causing Mary to break her nose with the gun as the alarms finally goes off. Before leaving, Mary thanks the stranger and he parts ways with them as the chaos and purge is finally over. Another day in America where the unemployment is below a 5% rate, as crimes drop to an all-time low due to the few people that live in poverty. The movie Purge starts with a man named Barney dining, tipping a waitress and telling her to keep safe during the purge. They all turn to the TV as all the employees are nervous and want to leave work, which their boss allows them. They pack up and leave, only for Eva to be offered a ride by her friend Carlos, to which she declines. Her friend then hugs her and tells her to stay safe in the purge. The scene turns to a man named Sergeant who is playing with his revolver with intention to take part in the annual purge. After picking up a much bigger gun, he aims down sight once more, practicing his movement, to which he sits down and stares at a portrait of his son and himself. The same afternoon, a couple is seen driving through the suburbs, happy as they discuss the purge, whilst Shane stares at an iPad swiping through pictures of him and Liz and remembers the happy times. Shane tells her he is nervous as they see a woman placing blue flowers outside their home, meaning she supports the purge and its purpose. Eva is then seen walking through the streets as a man approaches her, offering her artillery to purge, but she just continues her way home. As she enters the building, her neighbor Diego offers her protection as he tries to flirt and make conversation, but she denies his protection. A man then appears on TV talking about the purge as Papa Rico and Callie sit and listen to what he is saying. Papa Rico disagrees and tells his granddaughter this whole purge is just an opportunity to take out the poor. Eva then appears greeting her father, who tells her he was worried and what took her so long. He gets angry at Eva as she worked overtime to get him his medicine, to which they argue, saying she shouldn't have risked herself to do that just to bring home some medicine. Callie intervenes, telling him to be grateful and take the medicine to better himself. He agrees and hugs Eva, telling her to lock down the house and to be on full alert in this godforsaken night, as Callie gets angry knowing her mother didn't get a pay rise. The couple is seen once again, this time buying items, and make their way to the car. Liz then confronts Shane as to why he's so nervous as they try to enter the car, but is suddenly met by a masked man who shoves him, death staring them as he skates away, showing his group of friends who are also masked riding dirt bikes as one of the men waves goodbyes to the couple. Frightening them, they immediately get into the car and leave in a rush. Once again we see Sergeant, who gets a knock at the door only to be met by a lady asking why he hasn't returned her calls. But to her surprise, turns and sees pictures of a man who is on Sergeant's wall. She pleads with him to stay safe and not to do what he is thinking about doing as she hugs him and leaves. The wall is then shown again with pictures of the same man, telling us Sergeant has a bone to pick with this specific individual. Callie is then seen still watching Carmelo as he tells the less fortunate to take up arms against the people who oppress them and signifies this year will be their year. Papa Rico is seen leaving the house with a man waiting outside holding his door open to let him in. The scene then cuts back to the couple driving on the freeway, arguing about their relationship as they're broken up, leading Liz to tell him she cannot continue living in this lie. Unfortunately, the car starts to break down and Shane starts to panic, trying to restart it knowing what tonight holds. Meanwhile, a Dodge Hellcat is seen leaving an underground parking, to which we see Sergeant driving, listening to the radio announcing there is 45 minutes left. Staying on high alert, Callie and Eva are seen locking up their house with the security they have, preparing for the annual purge, including a gun on the table. Abandoned, Shane and Liz frantically make calls but are ignored by all. Shane then hears a leaking noise and looks under the car to see something was intentionally cut. This is then confirmed when Shane and Liz look up to see the same group of masked thugs stopped in the middle of the freeway, waving around a machete, causing the couple to run away due to fear. Still on edge, Callie and Eva stare at the TV as the purge is being announced. Although Sergeant is still seen driving around the streets with no care in the world, the couple, still running, come to a halt as the blare of an alarm is sounded throughout America. A group of thugs is then seen walking their dogs through the streets armed with machetes and flamethrowers, looking for a target to purge. Whilst in another part of town, a school bus is driven by another group of men who are all seen carrying guns. Elsewhere, a psychotic man standing behind a machine gun instantly kills 2 people and goes about as if nothing happened. Sergeant, still cruising, comes across thugs surrounding a car on fire and decides to chuck a U-turn and continue to his destination. Downtown, Liz and Shane are sprinting to find cover, seeing the same group of masked men. Knowing they are being chased, as Eva is cooking, her daughter shouts for her to come as she is seen reading a letter left by Papa Rico, explaining to the pair he has gone to sacrifice himself to the cause and is to be executed by very wealthy people that will transfer them a lot of money due to taking part in the wealthy people's ritual. Callie and Eva are in tears as they know they will never see him again, but stop grieving as they see a group of soldiers approaching the building. Gunshots are heard as Eva knows this isn't the soldiers, to which she hears Diego's voice, who told her earlier he will protect her. He is seen holding a shotgun trying to find Eva, but Callie warns him she has a gun too and will shoot if he tries to harm them. Diego screams it's his right to purge and finds them hiding, as he makes threats saying tonight is his night. He screams at Eva saying she shouldn't have rejected him as he grabs her hair, but then hears a sound and to their surprise the soldiers kill Diego. The pair hide in the closet knowing they have come to kill them and are found by the soldiers, dragging them forcefully to be sacrificed as well. Sergeant coincidentally sees the pair trying to fight off the soldiers, talking to himself to ignore what's happening and to drive away, but continues to hear the pair screaming. His heart gets the better of him as he jumps out with a gun wrapped around his shoulder, making his way towards the mother and daughter, but as that happens, Shane and Liz are also seen getting into Sergeant's car as it is empty. Having seen enough, Sergeant kills the soldiers with ease, and the same crazy man appears in the back of the truck only to be shot. Sergeant, still pumped with adrenaline, lurks around the street making sure no one else is there as he attempts to walk away but ends up telling Eva and Callie to come with him. Arriving at the car, he sees Shane and Liz hiding, demanding them to get out of the car, but out the corner of his eyes sees the crazy man get back up. The night gets even worse when Liz notices the same thugs who have been hunting them arrive, whilst the crazy man starts shooting, causing havoc by shooting at Sergeant's car and the masked thugs with no regard for anybody. Escaping the mess, Sergeant questions Eva and Shane as to why those soldiers were there and why the couple was out on the streets, but when questioned back is silent as they start to wonder what Sergeant's intentions were, but are stopped as the car malfunctions and comes to a stop. Sergeant leaves the car, arming the 4 people's lives he's just saved, and walks away as they beg him to stay and doesn't listen, until Eva says she knows someone close by and can get him the car to finish what he had started. Receiving this new information, Sergeant hands Eva the phone as she calls Catherine, telling her she is in need of help and needs a car, while Sergeant tells the group to stay put against the wall in case of a sniper. He receives the phone back as Eva guarantees his needs will be met. Continuing their way, they notice a man preaching on a building as they make a run for it, only to see the same men who had chased Shane and Liz abduct a victim off the street, forcing him into their truck. Making their way to the house, Shane gets caught in a trap, causing them to be attacked by Purgers, but Sergeant's survival skills in the shootout allows him to finish the attacker off. With 6 hours remaining, once more Carmelo is seen on screen motivating the poor to fight against the wealthy. The group talk about Sergeant's intentions for tonight and are a bit suspect about him, but Callie seems to trust him and wants to stay by his side. Sergeant, fed up with their attitudes, warns them to shut up, but Callie, still persistent, tells Sergeant not to go looking for vengeance, but stumble upon a man who's been hung up dead to send a message. Liz is then attacked by the same soldiers who attacked Eva but is apprehended quickly, causing Sergeant to investigate the truck from earlier. Picking up 1 round of the bullets that were used against them, Sergeant invites himself inside the truck while the group follow his lead and are confused when they enter. Realizing the high-tech cameras and information they have, the group knows this stuff can only be attained by the government, making them suspicious. Noticing the street, Eva points out to Sergeant that it is her house on the computer and are confused, coming to the realization that they were being targeted, and that isn't going to stop until they are dead. A truck approaches, causing panic and the group to run, whilst in the process are met by a Purger who Sergeant eliminates quite easily, showing the group he's well trained. Entering a tunnel, Callie keeps trying to turn Sergeant away from purging but just ignores her, whilst putting a vest on her, but is met by a crazy mob of Purgers driving like madmen with flamethrowers. They burn a man alive, causing Eva to fall and slow the group down. Shane and Liz go into protective mode, trying to fight them off, shooting at them but gets caught with a bullet. Filled with rage, Liz unloads her magazine, killing everyone in the tunnel. The group meanwhile is worried about Shane and Liz, who emerge from the tunnel only to see Shane injured, and Sergeant tells him he will be okay. With 4.5 hours remaining, the group desperately try to find their way to the house, running throughout the streets carrying an injured Shane. Finally at their destination, a camera spots them going into the house, to which we see another 2 high-tech trucks driving with only one mission in mind. While Shane's wounds are attended to by Sergeant, who wants his car, is invited to the table as the group eats and drinks. The family of Catherine's explains how they are anti-purging, to which she disagrees with, as if she also has a bone to pick. Eager to leave, Sergeant changes into clean clothes, noticing Catherine taking pills whilst downing a drink, making him suspicious of Eva's friend. The families turn to the TV, showing the chaos unfolding, showcasing the violence taking place in America. As Catherine is drunk, trying to liven the mood, Sergeant approaches Eva, informing her of what he has seen, but she does not pay attention, trying to get Sergeant to stop aiming for vengeance, and informs him there is no car, and they argue about the lie she made up. Fed up with the group, he attempts to leave, but not before Callie stops him, saying she knows he is taking revenge for his dead son, but Lorraine, sick of Catherine's antics, shoots her to death. She screams in anger at her cheating husband, saying this is the consequences. Amidst this arguing, he holds Liz at gunpoint, using her as a shield. The savior Sergeant appears once more, shooting the husband, allowing them enough time to escape. They contemplate on their next move as Sergeant punches the wall in anger, as he doesn't have it in his heart to leave the group behind. Hearing a truck makes him leave the group to assess the situation. Peeking around the corner, he sees the same crazy man who he had shot, demanding the soldiers to kill Sergeant and find Eva and Callie. He instructs the group to make a run for it immediately as they jump a fence. He tells Eva don't wait for him and to take care of Callie. As he is the last one to jump, he hides as the soldiers come in heavy, forcing an entry to the building as he watches. Once he finds an opportunity to jump the fence, he is attacked by masked thugs who kidnap him. He notices it was the same thugs who had been chasing Shane and Liz, and sees the whole group has been captured. Unafraid, Callie asks who they are, to which he finally reveals his face and says he doesn't want to purge but wants money, implying he's going to sell and sacrifice them. Forcing them out of the van, they see more men waiting. Handing money over to the thugs in exchange for the group, they are pushed to a location. Placed on their knees, they are given instructions to watch or be shot. Realizing it's all a bunch of rich people, they start bidding to decide who takes part in the purging hunt, and a few handfuls make it known they want to participate. The spokeswoman congratulates them, explaining the rules and wishes them all the best before forcing the men to drag the group to a spot, locking the door on them. Sergeant takes charge and explains they are about to be hunted by the rich bidders, as we see them appear with shotguns, rifles and machetes, uniting arms, preparing to purge the group. Spectators watch from above in excitement. Sergeant, knowing they have night vision goggles, has no choice but to attack first, but a scared Callie begs him to stay by her side. Nonetheless, he uses his training to creep up and try to save the group. Spotting a Purger, he instantly attacks him, fighting one-on-one, but he kills him with ease. He is found by another who unleashes a few rounds trying to kill him but loses sight of him, only for the determined man to attack from behind, snatching the rich person's gun, putting a few bullets in him. After donning the goggles, he makes his way through this maze as the two sisters appear with their machetes striking at him. He manages to smash one skull on the wall as the other jumps on his back. He blows her back out on the wall behind her before kicking her face in and leaving the rich spectators in horror. Seeing guns on the floor, he picks them up only to kill another Purger trying to find their footing. He then shoots a few bullets at the rich spectators, putting fear in their hearts. Making his way back to the group, he gives Liz some goggles and a gun, to which she immediately uses on an approaching man and kills him. The group gets happy as the remainder of the hunters run out, but problematically, the spokeswoman calls for backup to take them out, causing the lights to come back on and an army of soldiers to run in armed to the teeth. The couple apologize to one another as they know death is near, but unfortunately, Shane is met with a parade of bullets, killing him before he gets to tell Liz his true feelings. Liz is crying at the sight of Shane, and as Eva and Callie stare saddened by this, more gunshots go off, but it isn't the wealthy people as another group enters, killing the bodyguards. They force their way onto the hunting grounds, killing more of the rich. Seeing it's the same stranger who once saved the Sandins family, Callie notices the same man on the TV earlier, Carmelo, who stands up for the poor. He is spoken to by Callie, saying they are fighting back, and is impressed by her courage. Trying to leave as a group, Liz is crying and wishes to purge and stays behind with Carmelo's people to fight, whilst the rest make a run for it. Carmelo and his crew then start killing every single one of the rich individuals, making sure tonight is theirs for the taking. Sergeant meanwhile hijacks the spokeswoman's car and changes the color of her pants.
You remember me. Run! Run!
Still determined to get his revenge, Sergeant is seen parked outside a man's house, explaining to Eva and Callie that this man was a drunk driver who was 3 times the limit and killed his son. The man who done this horrific crime was let off due to a technicality, and justice must be served. The two women beg him to not go through with this as Callie cries, but filled with anger he exits the vehicle and walks towards the house with a gun in his hand. The house is easily broken into as Sergeant makes his way through the house and picks up a knife on his way to the bedroom. Finally there, he punches his target awake whilst pointing the gun at his wife, throwing them both to the floor. He reveals the knife, screaming, releasing all the sadness and hurt he has felt due to this man's actions, smashing him into the ground. Unable to control himself, he tells the man to explain his son to him as he pleads for his life. He finally exits the house with a smile, but is shot by a man who turns out to be the crazy man who he had shot earlier. He stands on top of him, saying not enough people are dying, so the government took matters into their own hands, and this is the consequences of trying to be a hero. Taking off his hat in respect to the sergeant, he gets ready to end him, but to Sergeant's surprise is saved by the man who he was supposed to kill. Callie and Eva run to protect him, aiming their guns at the 2 soldiers remaining, but the alarm finally blares as the purge has ended. The mother and daughter, distraught, give it their all to pick Sergeant up and try to save him. The man's life who he had spared also helps and drives him as Callie smiles and tells Sergeant she's so proud, thanking him, begging him to let them take care of him now. Sergeant, staring at her, holds her hands as if it's his own daughter and is rushed to the hospital as the pair save his life the same way he saved theirs. Another day in America where the purge takes part every year starts with a masked man jamming to music, whilst he has hostages tied up all bloody due to the torture they've endured. As the song comes to an end, he antagonizes them, getting up in order to finish his purge. 18 years later, 2 days before the annual purge riots take place all over America, as the true faces of the wealthy has been uncovered for their true purpose of the purge. With the presidential election coming up, Senator Charlie Roan is a favorite in the running, as she was the same lady in the beginning who watched her whole family be slaughtered. Her aim entering the political game was to end the annual purge, as we see a room full of senators and ministers having a meeting about her, with only one goal in mind: to take out Charlie Roan. Leader Caleb Warrens tells the ministers it is time to use this annual purge to their advantage before she wins the run to president. The next day, we hear the minister and Senator Charlie Roan having a debate over this hot topic in America, where she tells reporters they use this day to slaughter the innocent, as the minister calls it a sacrifice for America. In the background, we see Leo Barnes on high alert, as he is the bodyguard of Senator Roan. The debate still happening, Roan, fed up, intervenes, stopping the minister, telling the reporters and America the truth of the purge, as she receives a standing ovation. Senator Roan makes her way towards the crowd, firing them up. Seeing this, Leo tells the team to be on full alert as the minister tries to validate his speech. In another part of town, watching in a store, we see a man named Joe and Laney admiring the bravery of the senator but don't think she is going to win. Another man named Marcos joins the conversation, saying she is going to win, and has his full support, believing she can change America. As Joe tells him having false hope is dangerous, Marcos chuckles, making a funny remark. On March 20th, one day before the annual purge, the NFFA is seen on the TV while Senator Roan's group watch as the NFFA announced that the rules apply to everyone now, including government officials. Shocked with the news, Leo asks for all security to be available but is stopped, as Roan says she's staying home and isn't going to hide from these officials. Walking through the streets, Lainey is jump-scared by a masked man as he reveals himself trying to sell masks. Elsewhere, a reporter talks about how people of foreign countries fly to America just to purge, interviewing one of the murder tourists saying he wants to experience the freedom of America to kill legally. At the deli, a lady tells Joe what is going on with the world as she hits on him, but Marcos notices two young schoolgirls trying to steal as Joe approaches them asking nicely for them to stop but is threatened by them. Whilst this happens, Lainey comes from behind backing Joe, and as one girl tries to staunch her, she is informed by her friend that Lainey has turned her into a fan, calling Lainey a hero. She thanks her but makes it clear she better put back the stolen item and apologizes. Joe thanks Lainey as they laugh at the younger generation. Inside Senator Roan's house, we see Leo telling the security detail on what to do and the safety precautions they must take during the annual purge. Chief Coor tells Leo he doesn't like the idea of the senator staying home but has no choice and goes to handle security measures. On TV, we see Dante Bishop saying we must take arms against the wealthy and stand up against these people. As Joe's phone rings, he angrily screams as his purge insurance is raised. Unable to afford this, he tells Lainey and Marcos is going to protect the shop himself, saying he cannot lose this place due to the purge as it's all he's got. 12 minutes before the purge commences, we see the security detail of Senator Roan's as they're preparing for tonight, whilst Joe sits on the rooftop armed, as well as Lainey, who jumps into an ambulance as it's implied. She helps the injured. Talking to the senator, Leo pulls the house into full lockdown as the broadcast of the purge is announced throughout America and informs them no one is off limits, setting off the alarms all throughout the country. Very cautious watching the cameras, Leo is interrupted by Senator Roan inviting him for a drink and tells Eric to look over his position. The senator then tells Leo she is terrified of tonight and questions Leo as to why he has chosen this profession and do what he does, informing her he lost his son and says he wants the purge to be ended. That's why he supports her cause and wants her to win. Driving through the suburbs, Lainey comes across purgers on the street, seeing the chaos unfolding firsthand and the horrific crimes happening on the streets, also showing us the White House, which has the word purge written on it in blood with dead bodies in front, showing that no one is untouchable. Flagged down by a lady, Lainey and her team stop the ambulance as she attends to a man down. Joe, still on the rooftop, aims his gun only for it to be Marcos who comes to keep him company carrying a rifle. Hearing a car, they stare from above as it stops, showing a group of girls exiting, dancing and carrying guns, laughing as they seem to be wanting to purge. Noticing Marcos and Joe above, the girl unmasks herself, only to show it is the same girl who had been caught stealing earlier with blood on her face. Immediately, Joe fires at her feet as she threatens him. She wants to rob his store, but funny enough is shot in the ear by Marcos. The girl screams in shock. She's already killed her parents and they're next jumping in the car driving away as Joe is shocked by what has unfolded, whilst Marcos tells him he knows how to shoot as they drink together. Back at Senator Roan's house, the chief tells Eric it is time as he is seen rewinding back the footage, and Eric messages someone implying that they are traitors. But Leo returns to the room, kicking them out, telling them go back to their position. The senator is seen staring at the same family portrait which was shown 18 years ago as she remembers her family. In the meantime, the security downstairs is killed by a group of soldiers who appear to be the people Eric was messaging. We then see him open a door, pointing the soldiers in the direction of the senator, whilst Leo, still watching the cameras, calls on the walkie-talkie only for him not to get a response. Noticing the cameras have been tampered with, he rushes to protect Senator Roan. He quickly puts a vest on her, instructing her to move as someone has betrayed them. He opens a secret underground entrance, escaping whilst the soldiers make their way through her house. Evading, he sees two mercenaries around the corner, to which he kills with ease, making safe passage. The traitors Eric and the chief are confused as a soldier finds the underground escape and had no idea about it. The soldier reveals himself, saying there will be no payment until she is caught, as the chief screams, spotting her and Leo. One soldier unloads fire, hitting Leo as he tries to shoot back. Unbeknownst to them, Leo has left a trap using his phone to cause an explosion, killing the people in the room. And while that happens, Lainey drives by Joe and Marcos, telling them to stay safe. The senator, shocked at what took place, tells Leo what the plan is as she notices he's been hurt badly. He tells her to stay safe as the fate of the country is in her hands. As they get on their way, a drone is seen flying behind them. They notice the drone as Leo tells her to run for her life, making their way through the streets only for the drone to find them again. This time he shoots it down with his precision. Turning the corner, they see multiple dead people, only for them to get up, but Leo's reflexes are too quick as he protects the senator, shooting them, but as one jumps on his back, the senator helps by hitting them, but are problematically tasered from behind with Leo by unknown figures. Still protecting the shop, Joe tells Marcos he admires him and wants him to be his business partner, only to hear the commotion. He sees the senator and Leo being dragged by masked purgers speaking in their foreign language, telling us it's the same people who flew to America to purge. Marcos notices as he stares through his binoculars that the masked men threaten to kill Roan and Leo but are shot and killed with a parade of bullets, showing us Joe and Marcos came to their rescue. He calls them as he opens the store while Leo is still in protective mode analyzing the shop as Joe makes conversation with the senator explaining she was almost assassinated by soldiers. As they introduce themselves, Joe tells Roan that Marcos is a big fan. As she thanks him for saving her life, he tells her she needs the support of Florida to win. Drunk Joe, on the other hand, tells her she isn't going to win while offering her water. Finishing his inspection, Senator Roan sees Leo injured and demands him to sit. Reluctantly abiding, he sits down as she attends to his wound, with Marcos cleaning the bullet wound as Leo questions them as to why they are outside on the night of the purge. Offended, Joe and Leo argue but are stopped as Marcos tells them to look at the cameras. Noticing the same group of girls are back for their revenge, they parade in the streets threatening to kill them. Rushing to call Lainey as she attends to an injured victim, she does not pick up as Leo tries to come up with a plan to protect Senator Roan. Trying to start their chainsaws to break in, the senator asks for a gun and wants to be with Leo in the fight as they argue with each other. The sounds of the chainsaws are heard as the group takes cover, preparing to fight, all armed, waiting for their entry. The girl screams, saying she's going to steal whatever she likes as she fires herself up. Filled with joy as they dance about to get into the store, Lainey is seen driving the ambulance at full speed, running the girls over, saving the group. She exits with a gun in hand, shooting the purgers, and finishes off the main girl who started this. Happy to hear Lainey's voice, they open the store as she is in shock to seeing the senator. But unfortunately for Joe, a group is still attempting to enter from the back. Refusing to leave his side, Marcos tells Joe to leave the deli and to protect the senator first as they enter the ambulance, all together leaving. In a helicopter, the soldiers are still seen looking for the senator, who is driving to safe passage. The senator stares outside in horror to see people being left for dead on display as Leo questions Lainey who the victim is. Saying he is a good kid whilst making conversation with the senator, she tells her the NFFA is corrupt. They all then duck as they hear gunshots, but Leo reassures them it's only purgers. Senator Roan continues to ask them how they are so close, and both Marcos and Lainey say Joe took them in and looked after them. She tells Lainey that riding around helping on purge night is dangerous, just as bullets fly into the ambulance, killing the kid. Leo notices the helicopter and knows they've been found, instructing the driver to take cover under the freeway. The helicopter, still in pursuit, calls for soldiers on ground to catch up as they've found the senator. Coming to a halt, they see a massive group of purgers and are confused as to how they were found. Being the trained soldier he is, Leo realizes the bullet he was struck with has a tracker in it and removes it. Joe interrupts them, telling them the group of purgers is making their way towards them, and they start banging on the ambulance, filled with panic and confusion on what to do. Joe whistles in code only for them to whistle back, telling them he used to be a gang member, and opens the ambulance as the Crips ask for help, and Leo agrees for their help in return. The soldiers, eager to find the senator, exit their truck and follow the tracker but realize they've been tricked. Unfortunately for them, the gang members come out armed as it was planned and kill them whilst the group gets away to a secure location. Walking through an underground place, confused at where, Lainey has taken them to see a bunch of injured victims being attended to as Dante Bishop introduces himself, talking to the senator about the NFFA. She is surprised at the people she is seeing as he tells her he looks after all the poor. Senator Roan tells him she doesn't agree with his tactics but is thankful. Still unable to trust anyone, Leo suspects something as he stares at the armed men talking and moving weird. The angry soldier sees his two men dead as he is still in pursuit of the senator. Getting back into the truck, he demands his men to find that ambulance. Watching happily, Marcos and Joe are happy with the decision they made to save the senator, which is cut short when Joe expresses he wishes to go back to the deli. Approaching the senator, Leo tells her to sit tight as he goes to check out the perimeter. Looking at the individuals suspicious of everyone, Leo makes his way into a room but is confronted from behind. He asks the man to let go of him, and as he doesn't listen, he punches him and holds one man hostage. Hearing the commotion, the senator makes her way in, telling them to drop their weapons, but is shocked while approaching the wall as she notices the minister's faces on the wall, confused at what Dante's group is doing with all this information, coming to the realization they're going to assassinate them. Making their way to the deli, the group talk about the events that took place tonight, laughing as they were the heroes of the night, but are interrupted by Marcos, who points out the government trucks. The senator, angry about what she has discovered, tells the men they can't go through with this plan, but Angel stops her and says they're going to kill them for her benefit. Even then, she still pleads with Angel not to follow up their plan, and they argue but are stopped as they approach the cameras, noticing the government trucks. Asking for a way out, Leo immediately takes the senator to safety as he tells Lainey to meet them at a certain location. The armed men on full alert make their way with guns ready to fight as Roan once again tries her luck with Angel but is taken away by Leo. Furious he must go back to the war zone, Joe tells the group they're not superheroes. Sneaking out onto the streets, they are almost taken out by a swinging trap, but quickly get past it and see Lainey, and so jump into her vehicle while Senator Roan stares in disbelief at what's happening. Trying to comfort her, Leo tries to calm her down but is stopped as she says the assassinations of the ministers goes against everything she's worked for. The medic van is suddenly met with force as they are smashed from the side, causing them to flip over, leaving them all in pain as the senator is snatched out, causing Leo to open fire on the vehicle who took her. Knowing where they've taken her, The group decide to follow Leo, reassuring him they've got his back as we see the senator tied up with the same soldier who's been chasing her. Arriving at their destination, they drag her forcefully up the stairs and is put to sleep, placing her in a chair as they get ready to purge the senator. We see the man make his way out, only to find the NFFA acknowledging the purge as a spokesman tells them tonight is the night America changes forever, telling them to purify their hearts and souls. Hell-bent on going through with his plan, Dante is seen with his men ready to attack but is stopped by voices calling his name as they aim, only to see Leo approaching him as they lower their weapons. He tells the men it's no longer an assassination but a rescue mission. In the meantime, the NFFA bring out their martyrs as the crowd thanks him for his sacrifice, revealing the tools the priest is going to use, driving Senator Roan to fear for her life. Picking up the knife, we see the priest purging by killing the first martyr, stabbing him repeatedly as the audience laughs. The rescue team meanwhile makes their way underground ready to save the senator. Covering her face, they bring Roan out to the crowd as she is revealed to them, causing an applaud in preparation to eliminate her. Still making their way, Leo kills a man standing guard, making their way to the main stage while seeing volunteers from the crowd surrounding the senator. Sneaking up on another guard, Leo quickly takes him out as Marcos takes aim, preparing to save her. He takes a shot, killing the man about to kill the senator as the gunfire starts between the two groups as we see them shooting at the whole crowd. A man still rushing to take out Roan is shot once more by Marcos as the NFFA duck for cover from the gunfire coming from the rescue group. A group of soldiers is then seen coming out of nowhere to return the fire while Leo and his group duck as the bullets pierce the seats, but is suddenly stopped when Dante comes to the rescue, making Joe chuckle happily. The mission is a success as the senator is cut loose, thanking the group for their help when the walkie-talkie speaks, saying they have the minister. Dante makes his way down to him as the senator pleads with him not to do this, and that she can win without killing him. Trying to move her out of the way, Leo jumps in front, aiming a gun, telling Dante to listen, but is ignored, making his way through the door. The minister is seen on his knees whilst Dante aims his pistol at his head as he tries to manipulate Dante into purging, begging to be killed. The men, still tense, lower their weapons as the door opens, telling the senator she better win fairly as we see the minister still alive. The senator grabs the minister's face, saying she's going to win. Leo also approaches him, kicking him to the ground as Joe and Leo bump fists, finally becoming friends. The soldiers who had delivered the senator appear once more, shooting at the group as Leo covers Dante, shooting back. They go round for round, emptying their magazines as Dante sacrifices himself, driving the car at them, and is killed while the minister still making sounds, drawing attention. The main soldier drops his gun, whilst Leo does the same as they fight one-on-one with the soldier trying to stab Leo. They begin to have a knife fight, causing Leo to get angry, stabbing him multiple times, wounding the soldier. Trying to get back up to fight, Leo kicks him down as he breathes his last breath. Although the night is close, the priest comes back in, shooting at the injured people and the senator. But once again, Joe the Savior comes again, shooting him as he is shot to multiple times. With his quick reflexes, he saves his friends but is wounded heavily as they stay close to him. Joe reassures them everything will be okay, and the senator nods in agreement as he closes his eyes. 2 months after the purge, we see the senator at the election filled with happiness. Also, we see Marcos smiling at the TV, hearing Senator Roan has won the election. Staring at a portrait of Joe, Laney reminds Marcos of how proud he would have been of him as he smiles, remembering his dear friend. A crazed man with many scars, addicted to getting high, begs the doctor to let him purge, filled with anger. Another day in America where the protests take place, a new member in the purge has risen, seeing the newly elected president on screen. We see Dimitri running as he watches the broadcast of the experiment soon to take place. Also, we witness Naya complaining about her sink to the landlord before farewelling Isaiah as she proceeds to work. Elsewhere, seeing the doctors explain the new experiment to a patient, they reveal they cannot get off the island and will receive compensation of a lot of money, and the reward of purging is much more. The American citizens line up outside the NFFA clinics to get a tracking device installed in them to be compensated, while a reporter reveals they get psychologically evaluated to see the mental state before and after participating in this experiment. Many foreign countries appear broadcasting the new experiment as others protest, trying to convince their fellow Americans not to participate, while Naya leads the protest. Meanwhile, a woman named Dr. Updale is interviewed, revealing she's the doctor behind this and voicing that this isn't a political power move, rather a night to release your anger and emotions. A G-Wagon then arrives as Dimitri exits the vehicle with his crew. Shocked at the amount of people that have turned up for the experiment, makes contact with Naya, telling her to not trust a single thing the NFFA says and to be careful. The same afternoon, we see Isaiah making a drug deal as an OG lectures him that this life isn't the right way. He is then jump scared by the same crazed man named Skeletor, who seems to be teasing Isaiah, which causes an altercation. slicing him and attempting to escape. We see his manager unload shots trying to off him whilst the whole crew makes a run for it. Elsewhere, we see Dmitri telling his crew the Purge is no different and they shouldn't change their ways, but is interrupted by his man leading him to get smacked to the floor, warning him not to stuff around with business. Cleaning up his wounds, Isaiah hears his sister Naya arrive home, and as she questions what happened to him, she quickly arrives at Dmitri's place, forcing her way in and quickly takes her to his office as she attacks him for letting her brother deal drugs for him. He pleads with her that he raised Isaiah and that he would never, while hugging her and trying to comfort her as she starts to panic. He reassures her he has her back and invites them to stay the night. Instead of listening, Naya tells him he's no different from the NFFA and that he ruins lives too, leaving him to fight with his own thoughts. Still not hearing his sister's words, we see Isaiah at the NFFA's clinics agreeing to participate in the experiment against Naya's words. An hour before the Purge commences, we see the American citizens preparing for the experiment. We see a mother and daughter make their way into a church, meeting with Naya as she is surprised by her presence but reassures her the church is safe during this night. Receiving a call from his sister, Isaiah answers, reassuring her he is leaving the island and that he's behaving. Hanging up, we see him unboxing what the NFFA has handed him, placing eye contacts on, showing his participation of the Purge as we witness his eyes light up while he pulls out a strap ready to go. At the church, they watch the news as the experiment is about to begin. Hearing the sounds blare throughout America, everyone prepares for this night. Isaiah immediately leaves ready to purge, just as Dr. Updale and her crew are watching over the computers and monitors. Being watched for the purpose of this experiment, Isaiah notices a drone above him, to which he then hears voices, causing him to grab his pistol. Another man whose eyes have been lit up is Skeletor, who laughs in preparation of this night as he quickly shows this by killing a man trying to rob the ATM. On the island, meanwhile, a crew strap up as they talk about taking over Dimitri's places, sick of being in second place. Being the first purger of the evening, Dr. Updale watches the replay of Skeletor's purge, as a man informs them to get this footage out. Worried about business, Dmitri calls his men to make sure everything is going smooth, as he also worries about Naya. Still safeguarding the church, Naya and Dolores converse, laughing at the pastor giving a talk as they've found his drinking stash. Walking through an alley, Isaiah notices a bear and upon picking it up hears the voices of a woman laughing at him, causing him to throw it as it explodes whilst he runs away. Still in the purge mentality, he continues to walk and notices a crew pulling up on a store owner asking to purge, but is bumped into from behind him, to which he almost shoots them, only to notice it's his friends. He is then invited by his manager Kells, who wants him to attend the purge party, telling him Skeletor might be there. We see Dr. Updale and her men watching this party, shocked that no one's killing. Back at the church, they watch the footage released by Dr. Updale in horror. Meanwhile, Isaiah and the crew also watch in shock. In the meantime, Dmitri gets a few visitors at home while Skeletor appears at the party, stalking his prey as he approaches and dances with one girl, causing him to kill her for the spectators. Ecstatic with himself, he continues putting on a show for the viewers as he kills another person with no regard for human life, causing panic amongst the partygoers, making them scatter quickly, only to be met by Isaiah, who is locked and loaded, seeking revenge. But Skeletor, unfazed, quickly disarms him but allows Isaiah to make a run for it. Watching the footage, Dr. Updale is happy people are starting to participate in the experiment. Still evading Skeletor's wrath, Isaiah bumps into other participants trying to purge him. He manages to hide in a room as Naya calls him, worried as he tells her the truth. On the other hand, we see Dmitri hop in his vehicle knowing people are coming for him. Being the older sister, Naya tries to find her brother but is caught in a trap when she quickly sprays her attackers and take off running. Isaiah meanwhile is almost caught but gets away once more, only to see Skeletor holding his sister Naya at knife point. Coming from behind, he stabs Skeletor, freeing his sister and making a run for it. The underdog who tried taking Dimitri's place, on the other hand, is ambushed and has got set up, causing multiple shooters to aim at him. The King Dmitri makes it clear he is the man as he shoots him, sending a warning to the rest. Back at the headquarters, the Chief of Staff is angry that the experiment is not working to its full capacity as Dr. Updale tries to reassure him it will prosper. Angry at her brother, Naya lectures Isaiah as he tries to justify his actions. The conversation is cut short as they are held at gunpoint and, in fear for their life, are sprayed with water as it turns out to be a dummy. But the duo continue nonetheless and see more purgers riding in the streets. Trying to fulfill her promise, the doctor watches the news, impressed with the masked purgers acting in this experiment as we see the violence taking place. Driving through downtown, Dmitri discusses the events that just took place as they are met with a collision causing them to flip. As a shootout takes place, Dmitri gets out, killing the men who attacked him and his crew. Getting to safety, the siblings make their way through town, only for them to see the church being attacked by bikers who ride off as if nothing has happened. The doctor's crew inform her violence levels are rising as the Chief of Staff watches the news with her. Approaching the church, Naya sees the mother and daughter, who explain what happened as she tries to get them to safety. The gang inspects the crew who just tried to wipe them out, which confuses Dmitri as he finds out they're mercenaries. The doctor continues to watch the footage as she's confused at who these people are. She is confronted by the chief as they argue. Figuring out he is behind these random mercenaries being sent to Purge, she pleads with him to stop but is ignored. As voices speak through the walkie-talkie, Dmitri and the crew quickly make their way to another location only to see multiple men of his dead, which deeply saddens him. Meanwhile, Purgers make their way through the street armed, making Naya and her friends run for their lives. More officers appear to be purging as the group get confronted by other randoms attempting to kill them but manage to get to their apartment. Finally safe, they watch the news, seeing the level of violence that's taking place. The mother begs Naya to protect them as she worries about their future but is comforted by her. Arriving at his trap house, Dmitri's crew get prepared for a war while he informs them they need to protect the neighborhood, and his loyal soldiers are with him to the end, showing who the real gangsters are. The chief of staff, still watching footage of purging, is happy as everything is working. Opening their door, Dolores appears alive, telling Naya she was worried about her as she makes them all laugh. Staring outside the view, she reassures Isaiah they are safe. Cruising through the city, Dmitri's soldiers are ready, looking for mercenaries, as we see another crew in a shootout as one gets hit. Continuing to protect themselves, the mercenaries blast a bunch of bullets into the house trying to make their entrance. Randomly, a smoke bomb is thrown at the soldiers. Seeing Dmitri's crew arrive, they take out the soldiers as revenge for their dead men. Confused at the situation, the men are thankful for their saviors, but Dmitri hears that the soldiers are making their way towards Naya's house. Noticing a bunch of trucks driving towards them, Isaiah and Naya are confused. Pulling up in style, Dmitri sees the mercenaries already there. He gives the men instructions on what they are going to do but are shot at by flying drones as his best man gets hit while he takes cover. He becomes enraged as he sees his crew down. The group still in the apartment see the soldiers trying to enter but receive a call from Dmitri reassuring them he is coming as he gets heavy artillery for the hell that is about to unfold. Making their way in, the soldiers prepare to eliminate all targets. Dmitri slowly follows, seeing dead people as a shootout unfolds upstairs. Naya and the group try to barricade themselves inside, but the soldiers close in on them. Going up the flight of stairs, Dmitri gets ready as he makes contact with the soldiers and has a physical fight. They continue to punch on, but he kills them all as he is filled with rage. Other soldiers continue to reach their goal as the hero tries to come up with his next move. The lights are then turned off, leaving Dmitri with the advantage of killing some more. Trying to arm themselves, the group wait for the soldiers to meet their unit. Closing in, Naya informs the group to hide as they come up with a plan while the soldiers make their way in. They are then shot at by Naya while Isaiah finishes them off. One soldier aims to kill the siblings but is executed from behind. Seeing Dmitri come in, Naya runs to hug him. Still in protective mode, the gangster goes to finish this once and for all as the soldiers are adamant to kill him. Bullets are shot into the room as they duck for cover, but to their surprise, Skeletor comes in attempting to kill them but is gunned down quickly. Throwing a C4, Dmitri shoots it but is shot in the process as it causes a massive explosion which kills all the soldiers. Staying by his side, Naya thanks him as the group helps him get back on his feet, only to finally hear the alarms blare, causing the purge to be over. The neighborhood appreciates the gangster, calling him a hero as he continues walking with Naya and Isaiah. Another day in America, we see a couple walking through the scorched outback, finding a little shed. They enter to see a group is seated, and as they hand over an envelope, the men there uncovers a secret underground passage. A little kid leads the way while the group follows. Coming to the end of the secret passage, they emerge in open land as the kid gifts Adela with a card. Elsewhere, one day before the purge in Texas, a man is seen trying to tame a wild horse as he is spectated. Getting knocked down, another man enters in confidence. Harper Tucker watches once more that the man Juan is using his skills to tame the horse, which impresses the father and son watching on. Succumbing to his gentle tone and touch, the horse lays down, leaving the spectators in awe. Back at a butchery, Adela teaches her employers how to work as she moves on to speak with Darius. On the news, a tribal leader expresses the purge isn't the American way, while Juan and Adela have a nice dinner together before the night of the purge starts. Elsewhere, Dylan cooks on the barbecue, preparing a feast for his family. They all enjoy their dinner, sitting around the dining table having a good time as Emily makes a smartass remark causing Dylan to chuckle. With 10 hours for the purge to commence, Adela takes a stroll through the street listening to music when she notices two men armed in preparation as they enter their rugged-up vehicle. Back at the trotting track, Dylan supervises Juan trying to make fun of him, while Caleb watches how rude his son is towards the cowboys. Making their way to the stable, Caleb hands his men their purge bonus, also complimenting Juan on his hard work, telling him to ignore his son's remarks, and gives him his bonus also. An hour away from the purge, everyone secures their property, locking up ready for the hell that's going to take place. Leaving their house, Juan and Adela wait for the bus. In his room, Dylan picks up his pistol, watching the news, ready to protect his family as he locks down his home. The couple sit on the bus with many people, seeing a man putting on a freaky mask. Continuing to drive, the bus arrives at a certain location where multiple soldiers are armed. However, they see many other people taking refuge while back at Caleb's. He and his family bond, only to be interrupted by the emergency broadcast, causing the famous alarms to blare once more. As you'd expect, Violence immediately erupts, letting people unleash their inner demons and anger. Back at the secure spot, Juan and Adela converse about how great America is. Caleb meanwhile dances happily while his son watches the live feed and notices something. Immediately making his way to inspect the garage equipped with a pistol, he opens a cupboard to see heavy assault rifles in there with plenty of bullet boxes. He is then frightened by his wife, who appears and questions what he is doing in the garage. Downtown, while a shootout unfolds on the streets, we see Adela contact the soldier who allowed her in the secure location. Suddenly, he aims his gun while seeing trucks approaching and notices victims being slaughtered as they drive off. Horrified by this, Adela walks away to sit with Juan, but to their surprise, the alarms blare, allowing the doors to be opened whilst the people applaud their survival of the night. Having his daily morning coffee, Dylan makes his way to work as TT and Juan drive and notice an animal eating a human corpse. Walking once again, Adela sees the chaos surrounded by all the bloodshed that happened whilst purging. Arriving at work, the news explains the aftermath of the previous night's events. Walking through the horse stables, Dylan checks up on his horses. Elsewhere in an alleyway, Adela sees a goat trapped in a cage just as Dylan is ambushed by armed men wearing masks. Trying to free the goat, Adela is caught in a trap as bunny masked figures come out threatening her. Fortunately, Darius comes to the rescue, smashing their faces in with a pole. He then frees her only to be dog-shotted, but Adela returns the favor, teaming up with Darius to kill them. The sheriffs soon arrive though, unholstering their weapons and making the duo surrender and arresting them for murder. Finally arriving at their work, TT and Juan get confused seeing horses running around. Meanwhile, the masked man holding the whole Tucker family hostage reveals himself to be Kirk, one of the cowboys who work for the family. He punches Dylan while threatening the family by firing in the air. Hearing the gunshots, Juan and TT run towards the sound. Grabbing Dylan's baby sister, he teases Dylan as he puts his gun in Harper's face. Armed, the cowboys peek around the corner, shocked at the Tucker family's situation. Caleb screams at them, trying to cause a distraction, but is executed. Giving them enough time, Juan and TT unload fire on the men, saving the family as they hold their deceased father. More men in utes are seen in the distance, striking panic amongst the cowboys and the family as they run and make a getaway in a truck. Sitting in the back of the sheriff's van, Adela and Darius are met with two other aggressive people. Still driving the truck, Dylan tries to protect his family as more citizens continue to purge, causing confusion amongst the family and cowboys. The van also drives through the chaos, causing Darius and Adela to fear for their life. With multiple corpses on the road, the truck drives by while the family stare in horror, but Juan comes up with a plan. Planning on exiting the truck, Harper insists on getting down with the cowboys to inspect the perimeter. Back with Adela, meanwhile, an RPG is shot directly at the sheriff's vehicle, causing a mass accident. Waiting impatiently, Dylan gets out of the truck with his gun aimed, looking for his target as his wife sits scared in the truck. A man jumps on her door but is gunned down by her husband. Still lurking around, he gets into an altercation, killing the man with pure anger as his wife watches. Adela is attacked by the man locked up with her but is saved once more by Darius, who chokes him out. Someone tries opening the van, only for it to be Juan as Adela jumps into his arms but is cut short when Harper shoots an attacker. TT approves of her shooting while she smiles proudly as Dylan arrives in his truck to save them. Parking up at a motel, the group take necessities to feed themselves. Saddened by his father's death, Dylan stares at a picture of his parents. His heavily pregnant wife stares in the mirror daydreaming, but Adela comes in, reassuring her that the baby will be okay. Listening to the radio, the group hear that the borders are being opened, giving them a plan. They immediately hit the road to Mexico, finally allowing most of the group to rest. Juan confronts Dylan about his hate towards him, which allows Dylan to explain they believe in different things and are not the same. They are interrupted though, seeing many bikes in pursuit of their truck. They open fire with their weapons in the air, alarming the group. Aiming his gun, Juan tries to scare the motorcyclists, and Harper smartly flashes a flag, making the bikers ride off, continuing to shoot in the air. Once more, TD fist bumps her proudly, allowing them to proceed on the journey. 3 hours till the borders close, they make their way through a destroyed city. Filled with soldiers and purgers, the violence reaches an all-time high. Finally exiting the truck, Juan leads the way for the group whilst Dylan also tries to make safe passage but are split up by an explosion. Moving through a theater, Adela and Cassidy are cautious, trying to find the others. Seeing multiple dead people, the women are attacked, but Adela is quick to empty a hole in their perpetrator. Still stuck on the streets, the cowboys notice symbols following them to find their wives. Ambushed once more, the group surrender the weapons as the purgers give them an ultimatum, which is to kill Juan, and with TT refusing to do so, the purger shoots TT only for the NFFA to arrive, causing a massive shootout. An RPG is then shot, killing the backup, giving Juan and Dylan enough time to escape. Happily reuniting with their wives, they are ecstatic to be together again. On the news, an explosion is broadcasted as everyone watches in shock at what the country has come to. They announce the borders of Mexico are closed due to the wave of violence, turning back many Americans. One woman takes initiative, saying she knows the way to safety, and the whole room follows her lead. Simultaneously, a vehicle arrives, only for everyone to be shocked when the tribal chief steps out. He instructs them to move, but unfortunately, the same crew who killed the cowboy are informed of the group's whereabouts, preparing to kill them. While this occurs, the sun rises and the group drive towards the border, allowing the chief and Juan to converse. On edge, Dylan stares at the view, still protecting his wife who holds onto him. Also looking, Harper notices vehicles in the distance, quickly informing the group trouble is coming. Trying to make it to the border, they stop rushing to get people to safety as they prepare for war. The chief arms them, giving them instructions on how they are going to fight. The Purgers who are closing in on the group stand their ground for one last battle with weapons on the ready. One man fires an explosive from his bow, causing the battle to kick off with a bang. Dylan also opens fire as the chief is quick to follow him, allowing them to take out many attackers. Continuing to shoot, they kill anyone in their sight. Unlucky, one of the chief's men gets shot. Out of ammunition, Juan switches to his pistol, giving them enough time to retreat. They are peppered with a parade of bullets though, allowing the Purges to move in only to not find the group. Angry, the leader tells his men to find them, seeing the group hide in a little shack planning their next move. Adela, worried on what's going to happen, shares a moment with Juan.
Te amo.
Thinking that's the end of the road. Entering the place with their guns, the chief kills them with his close combat skills. A bike then drives through the shack, to which Adela pushes Juan to safety. Luckily enough, Dylan smashes the man off the bike. Determined to kill, more men enter as a fight breaks out, allowing Juan to tackle one, but is grabbed from behind by the man trying to kill him. His amazing wife gets up, ready to take her shot, manages to save her loving husband. Although she does that, Adela is dragged outside and Juan, fed up, slaughters another man while the chief continues to protect the people. Held at knife point, Adela's husband kills another, taking his gun to rescue his beloved. The two men then work together to save Adela and finally ending this hell on earth, executing the leader at point blank. The group walk together, enjoying the view as the purge has finally come to an end. Dylan's hard work has ultimately paid off, rushing only to find his newborn daughter. Filled with joy, he reunites with his wife, thanking Juan and Adela for everything. That's the end, and as always, blessed be our new founding fathers and America, a nation reborn.